Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the First Universalist Society of Franklin. I'm Drew Bogner, and I am so glad that we are here together. As we gather this morning, I hope you will find solace and rest, rejuvenation and connection, a moment of peace, and the strength to carry on. If you are visiting with us this morning, we're especially glad that you are here. Please take a moment to sign our guest book in the foyer and our virtual guest book online. You will find the link in the chat. Today's service is lay-led, and Parsley, one of our worship committee members, is speaking on unexpected change, an existentialist perspective, and has been a member of FUSF for 4 years and lives in Franklin. Existentialism is a modern philosophy that became influential after the devastation of 2 world wars and called into question the usefulness of the existing philosophical and religious models, their usefulness in preventing and staving off genocide, war, evil, and all manner of those terrible things in our society. It asks really one profound question, and that is, to whom can we turn to guide the important decisions in our lives and in the shaping of society? Now let us gather our hearts and minds in worship.
Good morning. My name is Ann Parsley, and I'm going to speak louder, right? Okay. My name is Ann Parsley. Here I am. In the summer of 2022, we did a series of services, lay-led services, exploring different aspects of change. Today's service is a slightly updated version of the one I did that summer, and it is called Unexpected Changes, an Existentialist Perspective, with a colon in the middle, which is very formal and academic for a title because I am an academic. So I'm going to start by defining terms. Drew gave us one explanation of what is existentialism, and there are many, which is kind of the point. We can say that existentialism is a philosophical position which says that the individual person is a free and responsible agent, determining their own development and the purpose of their own life through acts of free will. And the short version of that is, life is what you make of it. Yeah, that one's easier, right? Okay. Your choices matter. And what you choose to do will change your life and the lives of others, and maybe the world. The opposite of existentialism is predestination, the idea that the individual person exists as part of God's great plan, and everything that happens is part of the plan. Predestination technically means that free will is an illusion, and we have no power to determine the purpose of our lives. Existentialists are not necessarily atheists, but those who do believe God exists would say that God never intervenes in human lives and has not predestined us to unavoidable fates. We have free will, and we use it to create meaning for our own lives. As it happens, I'm both an existentialist and an atheist. And frankly, the fact that I'm standing in a church about to give a sermon is kind of surprising for me still, even though I am here of my own free will. There is a reason that this atheist joined this church, but I'll explain that later. Don't worry. For now, please rise in body or spirit, as you're able, to join your voice in singing hymn number 346 in the gray hymnal, Come Sing a Song with Me.
So each Sunday morning, we share a centering ritual with Unitarian Universalists around the world, the lighting of a chalice flame, along with a brief reflection. If you're participating in this service virtually, we invite you to light a chalice or a candle, whatever you choose, and wherever you're calling in from. As Anne lights our chalice, I'd like to share this brief reflection by Jennifer Grayson entitled Drawn Together. We come together every week, bound not by a creed or a mutual desire to please one God or many gods. Yet we are drawn together by a belief that how we are in the world, who we are together, matters. We light this chalice together in the knowledge that love, not fear, can change the world. So please join me in singing the Unison Affirmation Song, which you can find in the front cover of the gray hymnal. Be
morning. Is this microphone working? Yes, it is. It is. All right. My name is Diana Tesney, and it is my pleasure to serve as the Director of Religious Education here at First Universalist Society in Franklin. And there's a hole in my front row. Not anymore. All right. So if children are not already in the front row, they can come up. If they would like to come up to the front. It's so nice to see so many of you here today and know that you didn't get spirited away by a bunch of goblins and things when we had Halloween earlier in the week. Nobody disappeared into the candy bowl or any of that? All right. So it's so nice to see you all here. I usually tell a story that is for children and for grown-ups. Today it is a true story, and it is a little bit more for grown-ups, but it involves spelling. How many? Oh, says Eva, spelling. All right, well, maybe I won't make you spell anything. So when I was teaching third grade, it was time for my students to have spelling tests. And every week, I was trying to figure out a method to teach them that would be interesting and not just involve learning lists of random words, right? Because that's not so fun, right? Oh, you think it's fun? Okay, well, maybe it is. Maybe I'll try that next time. So I got a book that had quotes from literature or from fables or from stories, and every week we would learn, I'd write it on the board, we'd talk about it, and then they would learn the words in the sentence or phrases by heart, not by heart, but they'd practice them, and then at the end of the week I'd give a dictation. And if you followed this book, then you would learn how to spell pretty much every word in the English language because it taught these spelling rules intrinsically through these passages, right? So I was thinking about today's service. It worked. It was a good method, actually. So when I was thinking about today's service, I remembered the very first lesson from that book. And it was four sentences. Okay, you ready for the sentences? The first sentence was, I am. Is that a complete sentence? No. Why not? Yes, Violet? No. No. Is it a sentence? Eva? Does it have a subject? Yes, I am the subject. The predicate is am, because I'm here being, right? Am I doing a thing here, just being? Yeah. So I am. What a powerful sentence. It is a sentence. I exist in the world. That's pretty amazing, right? And if you exist in the world, then you're intrinsically important to the world. You're a part of everything that is. You're here, right? Welcome. I am, and you are. So that is a very important sentence. The second sentence was, I can. Also a complete sentence, and a little bit loaded. I can do lots of things. Can you? Yes. What are some things we can do? Violet?
Breathe.
Breathing is good.
Write. Creative writing.
Yeah, we can write.
Whistle.
We can whistle. We can what?
Walk.
Walk. What else can we do?
Skip.
Skip.
Eat.
Eat. Yes. We can do all sorts of things. And the older you get, the more things you find that you can do. And if you don't know how to do something, you can learn how to do that thing, which is pretty amazing. I can do good things in the world. I can also do not so good things. I could punch Clara in the nose. I could do that, right? She would not be my friend then after, and she might punch me in the nose afterwards, but I could do that. I can choose to come to, I came to church this morning so that I could talk to you all, but I could have chosen to stay in bed, right? Nothing stopping me, right? I can choose to call my dad this afternoon. He lives in California, and I could choose not to, right? Implicit in I can is all of the things that you can do, right? So those two sentences are kind of easy to spell. I am, I can. The next one is a little harder. It's I ought. A-U-G-H-T. It's actually O-U-G-H-T. And it also helps you spell the word bought and fought, right? A special spelling, right? And a loaded sentence. I ought. Because just like I can do so many things, there are things that I can do that are better choices than others. There are things that I can choose to do that make the world better for me or for others or for both. And that's actually the best choice, usually. So I need to think carefully before I do things to determine what I ought to do. Now, this is for you young ones. When you are little, you don't necessarily know enough about the world to be able to know what you ought to do sometimes. Like a little kid can stick a fork in an electrical outlet. And it is not old enough to know that it ought not to do that, right? So we rely on our families, on those who love us, to help us know what we ought to do so that when we grow up, we can make those decisions for ourselves. So we don't get electrocuted and other things, bad things that could happen to us, right? There, like we said, there's bad choices that we could make. We can make them, but we have to determine what we ought to do. The last sentence is also easier to spell, but also a little loaded. It's I will. I will. W-I-L-L, will. I will. Now, I may know that I ought not to eat the 6th Reese's peanut butter cup. But will I have the strength of mind to put it down and back away from the candy bowl? I don't know, right? So I will is both an encouragement to act with conviction and courage, and it's also a challenge. Do you have the will? Do you have the strength of will to know to do what you ought to do? So a simple dictation, 4 sentences. I am, I can, I ought, I will. Please join me in singing the children to their classes.
We light candles every week, one for the joys and sorrows that we keep in our hearts. And I'd like to invite you now to meditate on those people who bring joy into your heart. Who brings you joy? How do they bring you joy? Have you told them recently just how much joy they bring you? What could you do to bring them joy? And now the Universal Singers will favor us with the beautiful song, There Is Love by Everett Howe.
we're doing over here, too.
In her sermon, Anne will talk about existence and meaning, how we come to decide what is important in our lives, and how we organize and live out our lives being who we are and who we want to be. It is, as Anne says, hard work. So we met on Tuesday and talked about her sermon, and I went home and wrote this poem that I want to share with you. It is called Ripples in the Pond. It is hard to view ourselves from any other perspective besides our own. When we come to those rare moments of reckoning, what do we see? Am I compassionate? Do I show love and acceptance to those I happen to come upon? For even the smallest engagement that might seem insignificant can make or break another's day. Do I work for justice? Am I a passenger in life or a pilgrim on a path? Open to revelation and insight, struggling to do what is right. It might seem that I am not particularly influential. However, think of the smallest stone that disrupts the placid surface of the water once it is thrown. Every action has a ripple effect that extends far beyond our view, and if you could see it through to all its possible effects, we would know what to do. Live each moment as if it has consequences beyond our personal bounds. For we all have power that we have not yet found. In addition to being a member of the worship committee, I'm also a newly minted member of the stewardship committee. And now is a time in our service for our offering. The ongoing operation of our church community relies on the dollars that we give throughout the year. We know that our financial contributions to the congregation come from sacrifice and hard work, and we value all of your generosity. In March of this year, Karen and I walked through the doors of the meeting house for the first time. We knew no one in the congregation. We had never been in a UU church before, but walk in we did. We were immediately welcomed by Celeste and by other members of the community. We signed the guest book, were given name tags, and went into the worship space. Guests like us were acknowledged, not by name, but acknowledged all the same from the pulpit. Rev Bev gave a thoughtful and inspiring sermon. I wish she was here so she could hear that. A thoughtful, inspiring sermon, no surprise. Rand gave a testimony about being a UU member and some of his own faith journey. The music was inspirational and moving. Of course, no surprise there. We stayed afterwards and chatted with many members of the community. We came back the next Sunday, and the next, and the next. We had found a home. Collectively and individually, you have filled that spiritual void that was in our lives at the time that we first came. And we have met so many new friends. I cannot speak for all of you, though perhaps I am, without knowing it. But we have here in this space a unique and special worship community. Every Sunday, in some way and form, a bit of conversation on the way home, Karen and I acknowledge the special nature and gift that UU is to our lives. I said yes to Jay's invitation to be on the stewardship committee because I wanted to repay that gift that has already been given to me and to Karen. If you find, as we do, that this church and congregation nourishes your being, offers solace and inspiration, is welcoming and supportive, surrounds you with a community, speaks for and emphasizes your values and principles, and is truly a most remarkable gift, then perhaps you can repay in kind by gifting to our church some of your time and treasure. And for all of those who do that, thank you again, and do that again and again, thank you so much. This morning's offering will now be received.
So here we go. What does it mean to be an existentialist? And I'm going to go with the simplest definition: life is what you make of it. If you're an existentialist, you have to figure out what kind of life you want to make for yourself and what will make it a good and meaningful life. You can't just copy what somebody 1,000 years ago thought was a good idea for a life plan and wrote down in a holy book. Or actually you can if that's what you want to do, because you have free will. And it's much easier to do it that way. But if you really believe you have free will, eventually you won't be satisfied to live your life the way somebody else thinks that you should. You'll want to live your life the way you think you should. Most of us discover existentialism as teenagers, although we don't know the word. There might have been a time or two back then when you were very sure that when you grew up, you were never going to do that thing that your mother always did, or say that thing that your father always said. Yeah? Yeah, me too. Sorry, Mom. Just because they did something, that didn't mean you had to do it too, right? Yeah. Many of the world's great poets have written about the need to search for what brings meaning to our lives. Some of you may remember this eloquent expression of existentialism written by one of the great American poets of the late 20th century. I don't care what you say anymore, this is my life. Go ahead with your own life and leave me alone. Anybody know who that is? Yeah, good, extra credit. The problem is that figuring out what kind of life we want to live and how we can make it meaningful turns out to be harder than we expect. An existentialist life is hard work. You have to think a lot. You have to answer hard questions and make hard decisions about ethics and risks and the meaning of life. When is it acceptable to tell a lie? What cause is worth fighting for? When should I compromise? And when should I stand my ground? How do I choose the lesser of two evils? What can I do to make the world a better place? When I'm old and I look back at my life, how will I know if I got it right? It's a question. Particularly if you're an atheist existentialist, there's no official answer to these kinds of questions. We don't have scriptures or commandments, and we don't buy the idea that morality is a one-size-fits-all proposition, or that there's only one right answer to every question. That's why we have to do so much hard thinking, because life doesn't come with an instruction manual. And if it did, we wouldn't read it anyway. It's all very complicated. There are so many things you could do to give your life meaning, as Diana said. I just love the way she said that, too. You could have kids and teach them to be good people. You could create beauty in the world with your art or music or dance or words. You could feed people. You could heal people. You could build homes for people. You could stand up and speak on behalf of people who have less power than you do. You could fight the bad guys. You could explore the universe and find out something nobody else has ever found before, and share that new bit of knowledge with everyone who wants to know it. Or you could plant a garden. But life is short, and you don't have time to do all of these things. And you have your own set of skills and personality traits and resources and limitations that you have to work with. So you have to choose. And the good thing is that when you've chosen for yourself what gives your life meaning, and then you go out and do it, it's very satisfying. Have you done that? Yeah. You're not just doing what other people think you ought to do. You're doing what you think is right and good and meaningful, and that makes the world a better place. But it is hard to choose, even when you're not a kid. And fortunately, we're not alone. Other people have wrestled with the hard questions before over the past few millennia, and we can read what they've written. You might read the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius. You might read Huckleberry Finn. You might listen to John Denver or Kermit the Frog, and all of them have pondered what it means to live a good life. So maybe their answers would work for you too. It's not easy to design your own life, but you don't have to do it all alone. You can talk it over with your friends and see what they have to say. Maybe they know something you don't. Maybe they can tip you off to a good idea that sets your whole spirit on fire to achieve the most meaningful thing you will ever do. And maybe not. Because maybe what's meaningful to them isn't what's meaningful to you. And that's okay, because they have their own lives to live too. So here comes the next hard part. We do a lot of hard thinking, we make our decisions, we have a plan for how to live a good life, and we set out to live by that plan, making choices, taking actions, achieving our meaningful goals, and then suddenly things change. Some changes we deliberately create. We might get married. Some changes we expect and we can plan for. Our child will eventually grow up and move out to go ahead with their own life. But some changes are utterly unexpected and bring chaos to our lives, disrupt all our plans, force us to confront new choices that we didn't think we'd have to make. Has that ever happened to you? Something bad happens, like a thunderbolt, and you don't know what to do. For many people, among their first reactions to an unexpected disaster is prayer. Ask God for help or for the strength to help yourself. If you believe in God, that's a very reasonable reaction. Although if you believe in predestination, I don't really see the point in praying for God to take away your troubles, because they're part of the plan. He gave them to you in the first place, and he'll take them away if he feels like it, but you don't get a voice in the decision. But I'm an existentialist and an atheist. I don't believe in God, so I can't pray for help. I don't have that option. But I do have two other options. I can call on my friends for help, my community, because I do believe in my friends. And I can think hard about what just happened to me and try to find a way to integrate it into my life in a meaningful way. I have faith in my friends. I know they will come to my rescue because I would do the same for them, and that's what it means to be human. We are social animals. We survive, and we currently dominate the earth, not because we're the strongest or the fastest or the toughest living creatures, because we work together and help each other. Baby snakes bite, and baby horses run, and baby humans just cry to summon help. Helping each other seems to me to be the most meaningful act humans can actually do, and it's the essence of what it means to be human. And we make communities like this one to help us help each other, right? Think about a time when you were struck by an unexpected, unwelcome change that shattered the structure you had built for your life. Now think about the people who helped you pick up the pieces and put your life back together. You know who they are. You know what they did for you. And it meant a lot to you, right? Now think about a time when your friend was struck by unexpected, unwelcome change that shattered the structure they had built for their life. And you were the one who helped them pick up the pieces and rebuild their life. Why did you do that? Because it meant a lot to them, and also, therefore, to you. Helping each other is the most meaningful act we can do. And as Drew said, sometimes it's a little thing, and we don't know how far it's going to go and how much help it's going to give. So I said I had two options. After asking for help from my friends, The other option is to think hard about what just happened and try to find a way to integrate it meaningfully into my life. And you say, oh, great, another learning experience, right? Do we want that? No. But if you're an existentialist, you have to wrestle with the hard questions, but some questions actually become simpler to answer. Why do bad things happen to good people? No reason. No. They're not part of a divine plan. They're not sent to teach us a lesson. We didn't draw them to us with our karma. Bad things just happen sometimes because the universe is random, and that's it. So I don't spend a lot of time thinking about why. The universe is random, although we try to control our parts of it with some success. We always have to ride the waves. We can't change the wind, but we can adjust our sails, right? We can choose to see the unexpected change or the bad thing that happened as a learning experience. It's a good strategy because it helps us to stop moping about how bad it made us feel and go ahead with our lives. Learning is itself a positive action, even if we don't like the information that we are learning, even if we did not want to learn that. With a little help from our friends, we can find the truth in that old saying, which sometimes sounds very annoying, that which does not kill us makes us stronger. Yeah. Sometimes it makes us scarred or very grumpy. Hopefully it makes us wiser. I would like to be wiser. I think that's a good goal for my life. So, why did the atheist join the church? Does anyone know the punchline? Yeah, I don't know it either. I Googled and I couldn't find one. It sounds like there should be a punchline, but I can't find one, and I'm not very good at inventing them. So if you can think of one, let me know. The only answer I have is that I was looking for friends and people with whom I could discuss the meaning of life and a community that likes to help others. And I liked your style. UUs are big on change. We work to create change because we don't believe that everything is preordained. And we believe that we can and we ought to make the world a better place. And we don't keep following the old ways just because they're old. We keep rewriting our principles. We're doing it right now. And we keep talking about how we can make our church itself better and ourselves better in the process. UUs are big on pencils and erasers, I've been told. And it must be because we like changing things. In short, this church is very big on free will. And as an existentialist, that's one reason I like it here. And the other reason is that when I first came here and I kept saying, I'm an atheist, is it okay if I'm here? Everyone said, oh yeah, sure, we got some. You're not the first. But there's a few others around. A couple of the ministers, there's people like that. So yeah, you're welcome. Literally, you mean it when you say everyone is welcome. I like that. There is one joke about UUs. I have heard something about a loose leaf Bible that has a list of the 10 suggestions. You know that one? And also probably written in pencil. And I haven't heard a lot of talk about commandments in this church. In fact, I've been here 4 years. I'm not sure they've ever been mentioned. But most religions have them. And if atheist existentialists had commandments, the first commandment would have to be, you have a brain, so use it. After that, of course, it might vary. For me, the second commandment is something like be kind, or help others, or respect the inherent worth and dignity of all persons, something like that. And my third commandment is learn as much as you can, and then teach it to others. That's how I give my life meaning. I am a teacher, and I do it all the time, sometimes whether you want me to or not. So you can tell me no, and that's okay. Other existentialists will have different commandments for themselves, and that doesn't bother me. I don't need to tell them how to live their lives. I'll go ahead with my own life and leave them alone. So I invite you to go ahead with your own lives, but leave me alone doesn't mean don't help me when I need it. It means when I don't need the help, let me do it myself. Right? All right. So now let's rise in body and spirit and join our voices in singing hymn number 1064 in the Teal hymnal, which is, of course, Blue Boat Home. As we leave this place of helpful, meaningful community, seeking our own uncharted and freely chosen ways to become who we want to be and create the life we want to live, let us remember that we have companions along the way who will help us when we need help and rejoice with us when things go well. And let us remember to tell them why we love them, for our friends are one of life's greatest blessings. Rev Bev always says, and I rather like it, our service is ended, but our service to the world that needs us continues on. Thank you. Now please join me in singing our farewell song. The words are "Carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again."